It's a pleasure to get you back on. Listen, we've been a little bit weak the last couple of days, not making too much of it. We haven't had a 5% downturn in the S&P since all the way back in October. Do you think we will finally get one?
We think it's likely, Brian. Look, I mean, you look at 2021, buy and hold investors have got to be very pleased so far. And frankly, that's against the backdrop of the last several years' higher volatility. And so for us, when we think about the last month or so, you had these elements to combine that make it likely that you're going to have a little bit of a pullback here. Essentially, what we've seen is the volatility index, which we're very sensitive to, rally at the same time that you've had the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ rally together. That happened last August. You pulled back in September. It's happened on several other occasions, essentially pullback. When you combine that with the Michigan sentiment data that was surprisingly weak last Friday and saw retail sales come in weak and some of the housing data come in weak, while the Fed is still considering tapering, which we think, perhaps they should have started already, but they're likely to do that before the end of the year, you put it all together with geopolitical uncertainty equals the potential for a pullback.
Yeah, I mean, John Najarian was on yesterday. I tweeted out that I thought the rise of the VIX and maybe the market's weakness did not have as much to do with the Fed as geopolitics or U.S. politics. Would you agree with that? And feel free not to.
It's difficult to disentangle. It's one of these times where, again, we looked at the first week and a half or so of August, expecting typically quiet conditions that we often get prior to September, which tends to be the most volatile month of the year. But all of these elements came together, and we would, again, focus on that Michigan sentiment survey. When you've had drops like that in the past, and if you think about 50 years worth of data, this is the 7th largest monthly drop on record. You've had volatility follow those other 6 instances. So to us, frankly, if you're a long-term investor, this is something you should be patient and be willing to think about buying if you do get this pullback.
You just heard the insider buying. We talked about Tivity Health as kind of a sideways healthcare company, but from a sort of more traditional healthcare company perspective, everybody seems to hate it. They like the vaccine makers, and that's about it, Julian. Why is healthcare being thrown in the trash heap?
I think, Ryan, there's been this overriding concern that legislation in a Democratic-run government in particular might be, more regulatory with regard to healthcare. The way we think about it right now is that you're trading at a significant discount, but healthcare has two very important aspects to it. It tends to be immune to changes in interest rates, which are likely on the way, and more importantly, because of the domestic focus, tends to not care about geopolitics. We think that healthcare is one of those sectors that you can buy into this pullback should it occur.